Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Guys, I hope you're all doing great. Today, I have a pretty exciting account review for OG Chugga. Now, I did an account review for him about 6 or 7 months ago, and I did a video for him, sent it to him, and did the sheet as well and sent it to him. Today, we're going to compare what his account looked like then and where it's at now. So this is the account review sheet that I do. We have the comparison. This was about 6 months ago on the left side, and now is on the right side. So 6 months ago, we had 36 legendaries. Now he has 60 legendaries. He was level 78. Now he's level 91. That's a big difference in about 6 or 7 months. He did have 45 rank 6 champions. Now has 84 rank 6 champions. His dungeon farming times are way better as well. Dragon's Lair is now 9 hard at 1 minute and 5 versus 7 hard at 2 minutes. Fire Knight is 6 hard at 2 minutes and 21 seconds. You guys can see the comparisons there. I'm not going to say every single one, but the Ice Golem was a big difference. It's now 9 hard from what it was 25 normal at almost 2 minutes, and now it's 9 hard at 1 minute. Though I do have some concerns with that because I doubt it's actually 100% auto or 100% consistent. The reason why is because R-Tac is kind of difficult to make survive. This is a really cool team though. I run it one time, but the Seer, 6-star, fully awakened, it's super cool. Like, I mean, she's ignoring so much defense. I assume she has Crushing Rend on her. She does. She's just melting these waves down. She even dies on the second wave, I bet, because the Taturas and their reflect damage, well, it just wrecked Seer because they reflect everything back, and there goes Seer. She's falling down. However, R-Tac get to the boss, and he solos the boss. Not really too much of an issue. I want to see what blessing he has. Honestly, I think Brimstone is probably adding to some inconsistencies, which Chugga will know. If he says if it's consistent, great. If it's not consistent, I think if you switch from Brimstone to Miracle Heal, you'll actually restore a little bit of your destroyed max HP. At 4-star, it's going to be better at 5-star, but 4-star is okay. So Brimstone could make the Ice Golem do a big slam if it actually activates. It may not even activate because it's really weird how inconsistent Brimstone actually is. But if your runs are getting a little bit sketchy, they're not going like you should, maybe drop Brimstone, throw on Miracle Heal, and everything should be good. And you have good accuracy, you have good resistance, you're resisting all the debuffs. Ice Golem, the reason why I'm talking about this is because it's going to be one of the dungeons that he's going to be prioritizing in the future, because there's a big difference as far as what we were farming, what I did tell him to focus on before, and what I'm going to suggest today. Before, Dragon was pretty high. Now, Dragon's nowhere to be seen, which I think a lot of you need to pay attention to that as well, because Dragon used to be one of the best dungeons to farm because speed was so important. But now, to be honest, it's really just not. So there we go. Ice Golem, very nice team. Very good job. So let's go check out a little bit more of this reviews before and after. And then the fastest possible champion used to be Arbiter at 274, and now it's Arbiter at 341. Big difference there. Technically, the fastest is his brand new mythical champion, which is also awesome at like 350 or something. But you're not making this champion your fastest champion, most likely. You're using him for his other amazing kits or amazing skills in his kits. I mean, you could. He fills a turn meter of all allies at 20%, so he could be your fastest champion, but he's also a very good nuker. So I didn't use him because it would probably skew the results of that a little bit. It'd make the fastest champion seem even faster. I just use Arbiter, who's going to be a pretty common speed booster and pretty typical to have in your fastest gear. However, Lazarius, an amazing mythical champion with a few different build options apparently, so I don't even know which one I would use most likely if I was to use him myself, but he does have several different options. So as far as everything else goes, let's go to look at the gearing recommendations, because this is pretty, actually no, scrolling down a little bit, you can see that before he did 2-key Ultra Nightmare, now he does 1-key Ultra Nightmare. He wasn't doing Brutal Hydra before, now he 1-keys Brutal Hydra. I'm actually going to give him some suggestions and hopefully move him to Nightmare Hydra very soon, but everything else is very good. He got one more Fragment Champion, very nice. And then these were the old suggestions, these are the new suggestions. I'll go over that later on. But as far as the gear, this is a pretty nice improvement as well. We have more 6-star gear than before, the percentage is higher. He's working down all this lower quality gear, which is a suggestion I make to everybody. Try to get rid of most of your 5-star gear when you can. There are still going to be some pieces that are good, but try to work it out. You really want to have this pie chart looking a lot more of this teal color and a lot less of this blue. So a lot more 6-star and a lot less of this light blue. Over here, it was a lot more light blue. Whatever you call it. I don't know, blue. Blue. There's a lot more blue. I don't know. Teal and blue, we'll call it. So there was less teal, more blue, less teal, more blue. Now there's much more teal, less blue, much more teal, less blue. So very solid there. Good job, Chugga. Now let's scroll down a little bit. Before, I recommended Dragon. Now, I recommend Fire Knight. Dragon was number 1 before. Dragon is not number 1 anymore. We don't need the speed gear. We don't need accuracy. We have Lydia, which was a big difference back then. He did not have Lydia, but now he does have Lydia. We already finished Faction War, so we're going to be farming those higher stages, ideally stage 20 or 21, getting more materials to forge more perception, which is just flat out better than Dragon Gear. So now I'm going to recommend him farming Fire Knight, Ice Golem, Spider for some silver, and then Sand Devil. I'm going to get into that a little bit more. But let's go ahead and drop out the previous comparison and focus on this one right here. So what are we looking at? We got all of his times down over here. Let me go move this over here to the side a little bit so you guys can actually see it a little bit better so I'm not blocking everything. Alrighty, so there we go. So let me zoom it in just a little bit so you guys ain't got to pull out your magnifying glass, I guess. It's not really any reason for the magnifying glass to be pulled out. So this is his information: account level, champions, the dungeon farming times. Very nice. I put the less than 4 minutes for farming speed for Faction Wars. I'm not for sure if it's 100% correct. However, I do have to say, I don't remember if he had this last time, but he does have it now. And that is the Faction War presets. This is something that I tell everybody all the time, and it's not very often that I come into an account that actually has it laid out like this, okay? We have Lizardmen, Bannerlords, High Elves. Did he even do it in the order that it's left? Oh, yeah, he did. No, kind of. I guess it's kind of random order. Either way, it doesn't matter. Maybe it's the order they get sorted in. I don't know. Let's see. So, Faction, Bannerlords. Okay, it's not actually preset. You got to make sure you click the preset if you want it to be in there and then run it. But he does have all the factions laid out, which is so nice. Ogrins, just go here, sort by factions, and then just load up some champions. Guys, this makes life so easy because now you can start speed tuning your teams, having them go in certain orders in the certain waves so that your Faction War teams are just going to be so much smoother. And you can farm these stage 20s and 21s with much more ease, much more speed. Get in, get out, you're done. No problem. Faction Wars is super important. It may not be the most fun thing because it's just repetitive, but it gives you glyphs, it gives you forge materials, and you're going to need the perception, and you're going to need, well, mostly the resilient set is just to sell. But silver is always nice, right? I really just sell most of my perception stuff. So as far as this goes, Faction Wars, you're doing a great job there. The arena. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more today because we're in Gold 5, which is great. We need a lot more arena farming, like a lot more. I'm going to explain why. 3v3, we can start pushing this now. He finished out a lot of the other game areas, so 3v3 is definitely an area we can focus on. Bronze 4, definitely start pushing up to silver. And once we get to like silver 4, you should be able to have farmed enough to really make sense pushing into gold 1 because missions are still very, very important. Great Hall level 72. I want to get this higher. It just makes everything easier in the game. Fastest possible champion, already talked about that. We have more offense and defense options, still not a ton. I mean, we have like the core champions like UDK, we have Rhodos, Ronda, we have Sun Wukong. We have various different champions we could fit in a team. We have Necrit, we have Mithrala. We have some good champions. We just don't have like a plethora of like Warlord, Yumiko, Kaimar's crazy, crazy champions for the arena. He can get into Gold 1, but it's not going to be a cakewalk, basically. It's going to be a little bit more thinking and a little bit more specific gearing required to do so. Clan Boss, already talked about that. Hydra, already talked about that very well. Hard is actually cleared. So before, his hard mode Hydra was not cleared, but now it is cleared. He's actually on the top few floors, which is super impressive. Before, he didn't have any avatars. 6 months later, he has some of the avatars. He's missing this one and then one other rotation, but now he can start farming some of these bosses. Farming here, I like the Griffin. The Griffin's one of my favorite places to farm. Scarab, and then Dark Fae, I believe, are the ones that I recommend to him farm. But really, it's up to you and your account. Whatever you want to do on your account, that's going to be the one that works well, except for Dark Fae. It doesn't really matter what you want to do. Just do Dark Fae. Dark Fae is the best. Bombwell used to be high up there, and maybe for some players it is, but for majority, Dark Fae is just the best place to farm. It's even better than Savage Gear. General account suggestions. Focus on missions. This is very, very important. So if you ever get stuck in the game, focus on missions. I emphasized this a lot in his previous video, so I'm not going to talk about it a whole lot here, but focus on missions. Reach Silver 1 Tag Team Arena. You could do that this week if you wanted. I mean, currently in Tag Team Arena, you're in the red, so maybe let's say next week when you're in the yellow, but you could do this whenever you want. Silver 1 Tag Team Arena, boom, that's done. Doom Tower on 70th floor is easy because you're already doing the hard mode, so you can definitely do the normal. Get to 70 floors on normal. Make sure you do that, because once you get to the silver mission, it's going to be a little while until you have to find another mission that's like going to make you get stuck, basically. So that's plenty of nice free rewards. You get a Void Shard there, Ancient Shard there, Legendary Book, and then boom, Sacred Shard. And then you start working on the next group of missions. So like I say all the time in these videos, Focus on missions. It is just so nice having that hand-holding process to get you through the games and the areas that you're stuck in. What's next? So what's next? So next is he has Lydia now. So at this point in the game, he's going to be focused on specializing builds. And I get into that a little bit more in the gearing section. But what I mean by specializing builds is actually talked about in the gearing section, where I say before he was focusing on stats over sets, but now you need to focus on having sets and the stats also still be there. So what I mean by that is things like Fire Knight and Ice Golem, getting Savage, getting Stun, getting Provoke, getting Reflex gear, getting Cursed gear, getting all that stuff, but then still having the stats that you need to make it work in those different areas. For example, you have Razelvarg. Razelvarg may be in Savage gear. If he's not in Savage gear, he could be. It would make him do even more damage. That'd be incredible. If you get Savage gear with these exact stats or even better stats, that's what you're looking for. Maybe you have enough damage, you want Razelvarg to be a Provoke champion. He has 2 AoE skills, so he works and makes sense as a Provoke champion. So now you're looking for these stats, but with a Provoke set or a Curse set. Curse set works very well on him also. So you're looking for gear that's going to get you all the stats you need. You don't have to mix and match the sets. Ideally, you're probably going to be going like Cursed, Provoke, or Savage plus Perception. This is why forging and having plenty of forge materials is so valuable, because now Perception is going to be a very crucial 2-piece set for majority of your champions in Hydra, possibly even Arena, but a lot of different areas in the game. Perception is really going to be that 2-piece set you add, because the 5% speed plus the accuracy is so valuable to those champions who place debuffs like Razelvarg, who also want to go pretty fast. So keep that in mind. Ice Golem, Fire Knight are going to be so important to start farming a ton of now. Like those dungeons, I mean, Ice Golem, you're getting Cursed and Provoke, which are huge for Hydra. So nice. Reflex is great. Retaliation, I mean, it's good on some champions. I don't use it that much. I'm not even going to mislead you guys in saying that I do, but it could be cool. But Reflex, Cursed, and Provoke, they're all excellent sets. And then for Fire Knight, we have Stun and Savage, Regeneration, those 3 amazing sets. And then we have some other ones that have their places, like Crit Damage, can definitely be some like filler pieces. But for now, having Savage, Stun, Provoke, Curse is all really what you're mainly looking for. Sorry, my OBS started like changing shapes over there. It was kind of crazy. But either way, let's go on to what's next. What's next is grinding the arena. So there's 2 reasons why you need to grind more arena. I came into your forge to see how much you could forge, and you have like no Magisteel. You have 342 Magisteel, which is going to go very quick. You can only forge like not very many pieces whatsoever. So come in there, start farming a lot more of the arena, a whole lot of it. Buy every forge pass. I know you're not free to play because you wouldn't be having the $50 monthly pack. So I highly suggest anybody buying the Forge Pass. Honestly, just buy the $20 one early, because you're going to pick up the experience boost pretty early on. The experience and silver boost right here, and you'd have another one coming up. So there's no real reason to wait until the end to purchase it if you're going to purchase it. Just make sure you're doing all the daily stuff. Make sure you're doing all the weekly stuff. Get the Forge Pass. You're getting the Magisteel. You're going to be able to forge more stuff. You're going to be able to forge the Wrathlow set, which is an incredible set as it is. But even the Instinct set, the Righteous set, the Defiant set, and the Bolster set, these are all very good sets. Instinct is super helpful, especially if you're struggling with a lot of Fire Knight gear. Now you can just forge Instinct stuff, which will get your champions who can use Savage, but you don't have the Savage to spare them. Now you just throw them an Instinct, and you have your Cold Hearts decked out, possibly your Newt decked out. You have various different champions who you don't want in Savage, still ignoring defense and getting the benefit of the plus 12% speed, and that means only 5% less defense. It is a big difference when you're really min-maxing, but it's not a big difference in most areas of the game. You can still make Instinct work very, very well. The extra 12% speed is very nice. So Forge Pass is a very high purchase priority for me, and just the benefit of having the extra Magisteel is sweet. So more Arena, more Magisteel. I want to show you some teams you can do for the Arena. So what I want you to do for your Arena teams is basically just have a team that's going to speed farm stuff. Like, you don't want to be coming in here and spending all day farming. I tried out a match with Lazarius. I don't know if that one worked out great, but you have some Arbiter speed teams, it looks like. This team's actually even pretty good as well. This is possibly your speed team, though. Against the Torment, this is not a good option because we're just going to get frozen most likely. But this is a pretty good option because your Seer can nuke. She can nuke hard. Hopefully Lydia doesn't get frozen. She did get frozen. Not a big deal. We got 6-star Crushing Ren Seer, who's just going to hopefully kill everything. Okay, doesn't kill everything. Unfortunately, we didn't have no buffs to actually steal. Let's go try a different match real quick. Let's go right here. So this will be good. Arbiter boosts. We have Lydia doing the A2. And then Necrit has some buffs already. Seer just strips everything and kills everybody. There we go. GG. It's a speed farm right there. It's not like a team that's going to push you into plat. It'd be weird if you did. It'd be kind of cool, to be honest. But it's not going to do that. And you're not worried about it doing that. Even against this Frostbite Stoutus, you're not worried about that happening. All you're worried about is getting more Magisteel. You're worried about getting more medals for the Great Hall. You are actually silver 4, or gold 4. I thought you were gold 5. You can get to gold 5, but you're gold 4 right now. My bad. I'll just leave it as gold 5 on there because that looks better and sounds better, and you're right there anyways. But as far as the Great Hall, finishing out accuracy is great. Finishing out resistance is great as well. And then going crit damage is honestly very solid. In my opinion, resistance and crit damage are kind of interchangeable. Like if you need some crit damage on your damage dealer, maybe you have a Seer who you want to have more crit damage. Going crit damage, no problem with that whatsoever. But resistance is always going to help you because your solo champions, your Hydra, Mischief Tank, your various different champions who could use resistance, having it 10 is nice. Having 10 accuracy is nice. It makes gearing a little bit easier because those numbers, you have to hit a minimum stat threshold or your kit just doesn't work. With crit damage, you don't have to hit a minimum stat threshold, but with crit damage, anything you get more is just going to make your champions hit harder. So these three are very valuable. Attack, HP, defense. I prefer HP. It's the most valuable universally. Then defense, it's still very valuable universally. And then attack last, unless you have a specific champion you want to boost, because attack does not help defense-based champions. They don't need it. So if a champion does damage based on defense, they get zero benefit from having attack. Whereas an attack champion still gets some benefits from having some defense. Now on to the next thing on this list, which is Doom Tower Hard. Looks to be cleared. Very good there. I already said, I'm emphasizing this so much. Plarium's thinking like I'm the spokesperson for the Forge Pass. I'm not trying to be the salesperson for the Forge Pass, but that looks like what I'm doing. So Forge Pass, we mentioned it again. But 3v3, Nightmare Hydra, and starting the Cursed City is very important. So with Hydra, I actually put a team in a preset at the very bottom of your dungeon presets. I didn't want to do this I couldn't do it for your Hydra stuff because you already use all your keys. But this team right here is using, I can't move my chair. I don't have a green screen on. We have Artak, which excellent damage. Lydia, which gives us the decreased defense and weaken. Archbishop, which gives us the block buffs. And then Kantra, who's given us a provoke. We have Inquisitor Shamel, boosting the lead champion. In the last spot, you would have somebody who is just bringing something extra to the team. Possibly a Mithrala, possibly a Pythion, possibly some more damage. Whatever you think you're lacking, just throw that into the team. This team has no res champion, so having some more support, having a Pythion, having somebody who could res, having an Arbiter, those could all be very helpful things. Honestly, Arbiter could be great because it'll boost Inquisitor Shamel's damage, so that may be something worth considering. Plus, she doesn't bring any buffs that somebody else is already bringing. She's bringing increased attack plus turn meter boost, gives you even more speed. So Arbiter could be worth considering, honestly. So either way, in that team, I think with the correct gearing, you could probably push Nightmare Hydra. I don't really see why you couldn't. It's very similar to the team you do on Brutal, but instead of Visix, who places the decreased speed, we have Kantra placing a decreased speed from her A2. Kantra's an amazing champion, by the way. She's also doing the provoke. So she kind of swaps into Visix spot. Instead of Ugo, we have Lydia plus Archbishop Pinthroy. So we have the decreased defense. We have weaken as well. We have increased speed. We have decreased speed from Kantra. We have block buffs from Archbishop Pinthroy. We have healing, I think, and shields. Either way, Archbishop brings a lot of stuff. Let me see what all he brings. Like, he is such a good champion. And I know you use him on your Hydra team, but I think you could use him on a higher level Hydra team. So he heals by 30% and then places an increased defense. If 4 more allies are alive, also places a shield. So this dude is like ultimate protection, a tank. He's an awesome champion, helps your team survive so much better, brings a nice aura, but I have Artak in the lead because Inquisitor Shamel cleanses the head of Torment. The fears that you placed on you is going to boost Artak, giving you some more turns. Hopefully, Inquisitor Shamel plus Artak are enough damage. If it's not, you could gear Kantra to do some damage as well, and she actually can add up a decent amount. Now, whenever I'm talking about the Ice Golem farming plus Fire Knight, getting more curse sets from the Ice Golem could actually allow you to put Cursed on Kantra. Since Kantra's A2 ability is AoE, you have a chance to place Cursed on everybody, or the Hex on everybody, sharing your damage, which is a very nice thing to have. Though Relentless is a very good set for her as well. You could bring in Mithrala, who bring the Hex with you, but I do think Nightmare Hydra is very near in your future. Like, you could do that next rotation, next week possibly, start building towards that. You may have to boost the stats on some of your champions a little bit, especially since you're going in with no revive champion. Even on your brutal team, there's no revive champion, but that team that I mentioned should be basically full auto and should perform very well for you. Cantor's an incredible champion for keeping provoke up. I mean, as long as you have plenty of debuffs, which you will, you'll have so much stuff. I mean, R-Attack brings us the burn plus decreased attack. You got a lot of stuff. You should have no issue with keeping up Cantor's provoke. So keep that in mind. That team should do very well for you and get you into that Nightmare Hydra level. So then you could do Nightmare, you could do Brutal, which I do want to mention getting Newt into Brutal run because he is incredible for damage. You do got to be careful though, because if you bring Newt in and you don't turn off his A2 ability, then the Head of Mischief is going to steal it. He's going to spread it, and you're going to wish that you just never even started that Hydra match, because if they spread counterattack, it is horrible. Absolutely horrible. So turn off his A2, use his A3 and his A1. Unless you have like a strip champion, block buffs, you keep it up all the time 100%, then maybe you could do that. But to be honest, just turn that off and then use his A3. His build is pretty solid. I would like to see some more crit damage, but everything else, it looks really solid overall, honestly. But getting Newt into Hydra is very, very helpful. I mean, it basically means that any head that like eats somebody, anything, boom, Newt frees them instantly. So much damage. It'd be nice if you could get some more Inquisitor Shamels, but that's just like opening shards in the future. I know you have one, but for other teams, you just gotta be mindful of the fears from that Head of Torment. So something to keep in mind there, since you don't have Inquisitor Shamel cleansing. I do think Inquisitor Shamel makes a ton of sense on your Nightmare run. So Archbishop and Newt are two mentions there. Do Curse City as soon as you can. But like I said, like I written in that sheet, the Curse City gets really hard really quick. Like some of these rooms, especially up in Soul Cross, you're not gonna do this. You probably don't even have the champions to allow you to even enter it. I know I don't. Like this room right here, you need 20 stars. You ain't got 20 stars. There's no, well, actually, you may have 20 stars. Let me see. You may actually have 20. You do actually have 20 stars. There are some rooms, though, that I guarantee you do not have stars for. This one, you may actually still have stars for. Look at you. Look at you surprising me. All right, well, give me just a second. We're going to find this one right here. 10 stars. Okay, yeah, you ain't got 10 stars. You got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have 6 stars. 6 stars in that room. So there's a lot of stuff in Curse City. Just push it if you can. Do normal. You are already doing normal. Very good there. But hard, do what you can. Some of the stuff at the top, you're going to spend hours and hours and hours trying to do, and you may just not be able to do it at the moment. I mean, some of these rooms, not many players have even completed globally. So, I mean, there's 30. These players are ultra in-game max accounts. Curse City is a very, very time-consuming, silver-consuming, shard-consuming, crazy area of the game. Get to it when you can. Just complete it slowly. It looks like what you're doing, honestly. So it's really just repeating what you already know. If you're able to clear these rooms with the Remnant summons, go ahead and do that, because that will help you with getting more mythical champions, which you already have one. Congratulations on him. And then the Amius, if you can do it, do it. It's still going to be pretty difficult, to be honest, but if it's possible, go ahead and try it. Some rotations are going to be easier than others. What's next is champs to build. I have 2 champions I want to talk about, Tormund as well as Islin. So Tormund is going to be excellent when it comes to building 3v3 stuff. He shuts down the freedom for players to just throw in whatever they want against you. So they have to be mindful if they bring no block debuffs, well, they're going to get frozen, and Tormund's going to mess them up. He's very good at countering speed teams. He's a very solid champion overall. He's fully booked. He is 5-star. Getting his masteries done is going to be very, very impactful for your account. And then getting him into one of those 3v3 teams, building him as a nuker, having a champion and give him increased defense is really going to make for a excellent champion overall. So Tormund is worth building up for sure. And then Islin. This champion is very good for Hydra, brings a provoke on his A1, but places a counterattack on himself on his A3. He also heals himself whenever he's attacked, and then heals all other allies under ally protection placed by this champion. So if you're able to get him into a team with a champion who places increased defense, well, he's having even more defense than he goes in with initially. So this heal is going to be even bigger. He's going to be sharing an even bigger amount of heal. He's going to be provoking the Head of Decay and placing decreased speed AoE. So he's going to have a lot of control. Support, provoke, decrease speed. There's not many champions that you get 3 very impactful things from, but Islin is one. So he's somebody worth considering investing in. He can be used in Hydra and possibly some Cursed City stuff, but Hydra's going to be the main focus for him. So if you think he can fit into one of your Hydra teams, he's worth getting, mastering, doing his books for. You do have the books, but I do think that he could fit in a team, especially if you're able to get a champion in there who can bring the increased defense. So you have increased defense from Archbishop, which he could fit in the Hydra Nightmare team that I mentioned. But to be honest, it may not be the best one because you may have better options to fit instead of him. You could maybe bring Mithrala, which would leave you with limited options as far as increased defense goes. But something to keep in mind is if you do have increased defense champions, he could be a very good champion in that team. And even if you don't, he's still going to heal for quite a bit and perform very solid overall. Now let's go into the last few points we have on this, which is the gearing section. The gearing section is one of the most important areas, and you're doing really good as far as cleansing your gear and keeping it kind of low. Your gearing on your champions looks solid. The issue, though, is that it's not super, like, niche down. So the stats are there. The sets are not so much. So now I want you to start working on getting the sets to be good. Ice Golem farming, Fire Knight farming, and then various Doom Tower bosses farming as well. Getting those to be good. I mean, champions like your Artak, very nice. But your nukers, like your Summon Kong, looks like he's built for support. That's fine. Your Supreme Elhain, let's take a look at her gear. So she is kind of slow, low attack. I would like to see this 5,500 plus, somewhere around there. Crit damage is looking pretty good, though. Let's see what's going with your gloves. Crit damage gloves, these are good. Attack percentage with kind of poor rolls. So this would be a good one to actually replace in the future. The pair of boots is not great for Supreme Elhain. We have a 5-star pair of boots, no attack percentage. We have no rolls and a crit rate, so getting some better improved boots could be very nice. The shield is pretty good. Triple roll crit rate, 6-star. Speed is nice to have. We don't have any crit damage, nothing like that on the shield, unfortunately. The helmet is looking good. This is actually a very solid helmet. I do like that a lot. And then the weapon is pretty nice as well. The resistance could be something else, but either way, it's fine the way it is. So this is good. This is good. The shield is okay. The boots could be replaced. The chest plate could be replaced, and the gloves are solid. So switching out a few of these pieces can make for a pretty big impact in your overall build. The banner is good too, but if you're able to squeeze out a little bit more attack, that'd be very, very helpful, making it a little bit faster. So essentially, you're going to be working on getting better sets, or it's the sets that make the champions good, but also the stats to go alongside it. So Supreme Elhain is kind of already in that territory. But let's take a look at champions like Archbishop. He could be in Relentless. He could be in really just Relentless. It could be in Provoke, or he could be in Curse, but he only has one AoE skill, so you don't really need that. But since he does have some very good skills in his kit, Relentless or even Reflex are very good sets for him to be in. So let's go take a look at your Reflex gear as well as your Relentless and see what you have as far as options. Relentless, plenty of options. Reflex, let's see. A little bit more limited, but you do have some options still. So Reflex is great for reducing the cooldowns. His A2 and his A3 are both super valuable. Reflex is great for getting him back around to those skills. So either one works great. It really just depends on how you want your buffs to be held up over the fight, because Relentless, you're going to outrun your buffs a little bit faster. With Lydia, she's actually a champion who, once you get to the point of farming a lot of Ice Golem, you can actually take her and swap her over into Provoke gear, keep her accuracy high, keep her speed high, and now all of a sudden she's bringing a chance to provoke. She's decreased defense and decreased weaken. She's increased speed and increase and strengthen, going fast. So she makes your Doom Tower wave clears a little bit easier. She makes your Hydra even stronger because now you have another provoke champion in case your main one gets eaten or whatever. But now you have another provoke champion. Not gonna land it all the time, but it's relatively often. I have my Lydia, I think, in provoke or even cursed. Both those work great, and they do very well as far as performing. So provoke is there, and then cursed is right up here. You have some pieces there. Let's see what you have as far as speed. Speed rolls and accuracy is what you're looking for a lot in the curse set, because most of the champions wearing this are probably going to be support type champions. So you may even be able to make a set from this. We have double roll there. We have some accuracy there, some crit rate. So you have some pieces with speed, not a ton, but you may be able to make some. You have 1, 2, 3, and then these pair of speed boots. So you may even make your Lydia switch over into curse set, and then boom, now you have a cursed or a hex option for your Nightmare Hydra team that I mentioned before, and now you could bring in a champion like maybe Islin. Bring Islin into that team, gives the increased defense, and now you're looking at a very strong, potentially Nightmare Hydra team, maybe full auto, doing 1 key as well. So something to consider there. As far as what's next is, I guess we're just looking at the gear stuff in general. Dungeon priority, that's what I was talking about, all this stuff. Sand Devil, I want to talk about this. We're going to focus a lot on that as well. But buying the Forge Passes, more arena grinding, gearing before versus now, the differences, and then Sand Devil. So another difference between before, I said, do not do Sand Devil. It's not worth your time. Now, it's starting to become worth your time. I wouldn't say you're quite to the point where it's very much worth your time because you're still needing to get some better sets on your champions. But very soon, I want you to go in here to Sand Devil. And I already know you're working on this because you already have a God Seeker with, I think, a 5 or 6 star soul. Or no, a 4-star soul. So you're working on it. You have the Miracle Heal, so you know what you're doing. You have Regeneration plus Perception, but I want you to come in here and I want you to start climbing up the Sand Devil floors. So right now, stage 16, it's Void Affinity. You could use, this is actually a pretty good combo here. Farrakhan plus Godseeker. You could use Newt plus Godseeker, one of those two. But essentially, just keep climbing the floors. If it's Magic Affinity, don't use Farrakhan. Don't use Newt. Just use a champion like, I don't know, a Magic Affinity champion or a Force Affinity champion. You could use Mordecai. You could use Drexstar. Well, Drexstar not so much because he doesn't place the burn. He just does it when he gets hit. He actually does it on his A3. It may take a little while, though. It's going to be just like Mordecai. So Drexstar could be good. Mordecai could be good. Various different champions. Farrakhan's going to be slow. He's weak affinity, so something to be mindful of there. But it's really just that manual climb all the way to stage 25. Stage 25 is Force Affinity. So you could go your Farrakhan. You could go your Newt. You could go those different champions who are going to make stage 25 still kind of slow with Godseeker plus that champion, but it should be under or around 3 minutes per run. Then you can start getting more dust to actually re-roll those pieces, fully max out the pieces with the oil, and now your gear is going from, okay, your Supreme Elhain has these stats. Well, you can add extra speed to the boots. You can get extra attack percentage on the chest plate. You can get extra crit damage or attack percentage on these gloves. So now your gear that may not have been amazing before is now adding a good chunk to your speed, a good chunk to your crit damage, and 20% or more to your attack. So getting Sand Devil going soon is very important. Though, if you put oil, if you put dust on a piece of gear that's meh, it's going to make it just a little less meh. You want to put it on pieces of gear that are solid as it is, and then the dust and the oil just make them that much better. You really don't want to just start polishing a turd, for the lack of better words. So Sand Devil farming is not for mid-game players. It's enticing, it's tempting, but it's really for players who have a pretty well-developed gear pool as it is anyways. Coming in here and re-gearing these champions into Cursed, into Provoke sets is going to be very nice. Honestly, I kind of want to see what your Lydia could be like if put her in Provoke or Cursed. So Provoke is going to be probably a little more difficult to get her into. Actually, no, probably not. So just as like a quick example here, got a helmet right there, boom, and then some gloves and Perception. I mean, this is fantastic right here. Now, this is not going to be exactly what you would do because this is taken from your Arbiter. But let's see if we can find some different gloves, actually. Attack percentage, your Taurus. There we go, your Taurus, whatever his name is. 264. So a little bit low on the accuracy. We can definitely improve that. But this is Provoke. This is a very solid setup. This is an idea for you to think about and maybe actually equip to your champion, because now your Lydia is a potential Provoke champion for Hydra. Or with the team that I mentioned, it may even be better if you come in here and go, okay, let's find the Curse set. See what we got as far as speed there. We got Gory with his 29 speed boots. We got this weapon, this helmet, or this shield, this helmet, which isn't great. It's really not that solid at all, to be honest. And then we could go this pair of gloves, actually. So drop this helmet, take these pair of boots, get a different helmet on somebody else, from somebody else down here with speed. Take it from Visix, because you don't really need her now. 238, 244 accuracy. Come in here and adjust some of your stuff. He's going to be even faster. Your banner, I assume it's accuracy, but it might not be. It's actually not accuracy. So you could just go an accuracy banner with speed. And now all of a sudden, you have a Lydia who is placing Provoke. Sorry, not placing Provoke. Placing Hex. Sharing damage from your other champions. She is going fast. She's going to be boosted even faster once these boots are fully taken up. And she's placing the decreased defense, the weaken, the increased speed, the strengthen. This works well. Though, if you're worried about Doom Tower stuff, I think Provoke gets a little bit higher up as far as Provoke versus Curse, because Provoke can shut down the waves. Curse does not shut down the waves. Just makes you do a little bit more damage. And I assume you're using a Lydia in your team. You are. You're using a Lydia in your team. So having Provoke could actually help out in your Doom Tower waves quite a bit as well, because Lydia also brings a block active skills and a block buffs. So you have that, chance of placing Provoke, and then the A2 chance of placing Provoke. So something worth considering is actually just throwing her in a Provoke set. Very good for Hydra, very good for Doom Tower, and very much worth considering. But at this point in the game, I'd really focus on getting your champions that you use a lot into those nice sets. Curse, Provoke, Stun, Savage for your damage dealers. There's not really anything else like Savage, Lethal, Instinct. You need a defense ignore set on your damage dealers, which you're doing good about that. Rhonda, she could use a defense ignore set. Rhodos, he's in a defense ignore set. His build overall is okay. He could definitely have more attack, more HP. His crit damage is good. I like to see that speed higher, but right now, in time, it can be improved. I would definitely like to see his speed higher, but he is overall going to smack some champions, I'm sure. As far as the last few tips, there's none. So let's go ahead and jump into the 3v3 stuff. I want to give you a few maybe potential ideas. Maybe just like one or two teams. Sun Wukong as a damage dealer is very, very nasty, especially in a team like this. We have Pythion, we have UDK, we have Sun Wukong, and then we have a champion who can give an increased attack. Which would be, so Lazarius, I need to figure out what teams he would synergize with the best. I mean, he brings a lot of good stuff. Turn meter boost, then plays increased attack and strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns. So maybe you could just have him in your team as the fastest, or you could have him as a nuker. So there's different options you can use him for. I need to really visit him a lot more to figure out what I would actually do with him to make him the best, because I know he's one of the best mythicals, but you gotta know how you want to build him correctly to really utilize him to his max potential. You could throw an Arbiter in there. You could throw a Mithrala is actually probably even better, because now all of a sudden you have Mithrala who's tanky. UDK is not going to die. Actually, you could drop the Pythion because you really don't need the Pythion, because UDK is going to, or Sun Wukong is going to res himself. So you go that, you go a Mithrala. If you had a strip champion, you could go the strip champion. But in this team, you could go Pythion plus Necrit plus a champion who gives themselves buffs. You could go a champion. You could go Lazarius. It's not a bad option whatsoever. And then your speed team, you could go Arbiter plus your Arbiter, Lydia, or Deacon. Arbiter, Deacon, Lydia. Deacon for the turn meter manipulation. Lydia for the decreased defense, weaken, and the buffs. And then Seer for your speed team that nukes. It's not going to have a whole lot of chances after that initial nuke to do very well, but it will do well that initial nuke. Or you could drop her and go a champion like Supreme Elhain. You could throw in various different options there. And then for this team, these are just some like spitballing off the top of my head, just random stuff. Oh, we need a Tormund, because Tormund's going to be a champion you bring up fairly soon. He could actually do pretty well in this team as well. I mean, Tormund is going to be controlling the enemy somewhat. He's going to be placing the freeze, at least having that threat. He does have a strip kind of on his A2, just from a target enemy, not from all enemies. So Mithrala, if they have to bring a block buff champion. If they don't bring a block debuff, if they don't bring a block debuff champion, they're just going to get wrecked. Your Tormund freezes, your Mithrala hexes. It's going to be horrible. If you had a different strip champion, you could use that in place of Tormund. But Tormund's also going to do some pretty good damage. He benefits from the increased defense from Mithrala. And then if he dies, well, he's just going to come back anyway. So you have 2 self-res champions. And as long as your UDK survives for a long time in Stoneskin, then you're going to have no problems there. This team, you have some changes that could be made. This one could be fleshed out more, and like with more testing, more diving in depth, you can actually figure out what's going to perform the best in this team. But having a strip champion of some kind is probably going to be pretty good there also. Madame Saris. There we go. Madame Saris and Stoneskin is going to be very solid as well, potentially. Madame Saris, strips, Lazarius, he just nukes. Just be a great nuke champion. Various different stuff in his kit to make him work fantastic as well. He has a turn meter boost with the increased attack, but on his passive ability in his second form, at the start of the turn, places an increased attack and increased crit damage buff on him for 2 turns anyway. So he's going to be fine. When he switches forms, he gives himself those buffs anyway, so you don't need an Arbiter for that, and you just have him. He's going to smack it right down. It's going to be very difficult to overcome that, essentially. But you got to make sure all the builds are correct and it makes sense for what you're trying to do. I'm going to manual selection there. But that's just some opinions on the 3v3 stuff. You'll have to change it as you get further. But I think in general, it should perform very well at your level. You should be able to climb no problem to Silver 1, and then may have to make some tweaks as you get closer to Gold. But in general, those teams, if built correctly, are going to be pretty scary. I mean, a mythical champion is scary enough, and then you have the other teams that are pretty scary as well. It does require some rebuilds of some champs, but overall, that should perform pretty decent for you. Now, your Sun Wukong is being used in Hydra, so you may have to revisit his build, but it gives you an idea of what you could do. You could switch them over to damage. You could just throw a different damage dealer in there. It's not a huge deal. You could switch around the Necrit. Those teams are not necessarily what is going to work. The only thing, there's definitely tons of other options. It's just like the first look that I had, what I think could possibly be used to get you into Silver 1 at least, and then eventually climb up higher and higher into Tag Team Arena to eventually get you through these missions. Really, that's what you should be focusing on first and foremost, is following the missions, getting through those, and then focusing on all the other areas that I've laid out for you. So getting your energy spent into these dungeons is going to be very important. Getting your champions moved over to the more specific gear sets and specific functioning and the specific roles is going to make a night and day difference in your account. And then hopefully 6 months from now, you're going to be having even more massive differences from what the last one was until now. So Chugga, thank you very much for reaching out to me to do this takeover. Very much appreciate it. Hopefully it helps you, and hopefully it helps some people out there watching the video as well. So guys, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video.